Okay, let's dive into a fascinating story. It's about how a heritage brand, one that's famous for its classic, thumping motorcycles, decided to build a modern street fighter to take on a whole new world of competitors. This is the story of a very calculated gamble.
So how does a classic brand even begin to build a modern fighter? This explainer is all about Royal Enfield. Now, when you hear that name, you probably picture old-school retro bikes, right? Well, we're going to break down their big strategic gamble with the new Guerrilla 450, a bike designed to go head-to-head in a very fast, very aggressive, and very modern arena.
To really get what the Guerrilla 450 is all about, we first have to understand the battlefield Royal Enfield was deciding to step onto. See, this wasn't just about building another cool motorcycle. It was a serious move for survival and expansion in the incredibly crowded 400 to 450cc category.
I mean, this space is absolutely packed with modern, high-performance rivals from brands like Triumph and KTM. For Royal Enfield, a company practically built on a retro image, this was a huge leap out of its comfort zone. They needed a totally new kind of machine, and it was all riding on their first-ever liquid-cooled engine platform to prove they could do more than just compete, they could actually win.
So how did they pull it off? Well, instead of starting with a completely blank sheet of paper, Royal Enfield's solution was pretty clever, really efficient, and it was all born from a sibling partnership with another one of their new bikes.
Now, this is where it gets really fascinating. The Guerrilla 450 was actually developed at the same time as its adventure touring sibling, the Himalayan 450. They share the exact same core engine and frame, but they are completely different animals. You've got the Himalayan, which is this tall, rugged adventurer, and then you have the Guerrilla, a lighter, meaner, road-focused brawler. And this is key. It wasn't an afterthought. It was a deliberate plan to create two totally distinct personalities from one single brilliant platform. And that shared DNA, that common starting point, it gives the Guerrilla a really unique personality out on the road. It comes with some very clear strengths and, as we're about to see, a few notable weaknesses too.
This bike was just engineered to be fun. That's the long and short of it. Reviewers have called the engine an enthusiastic horse, which is perfect because it's not about some boring, smooth, linear power. No, it's about an exciting rush, a kick that hits you right in the mid-range and just begs you to twist the throttle and let it run.
But here's the flip side of that coin. That same exciting engine character makes it pretty unhappy in slow, stop-and-go city traffic. Below 3,000 RPM, it can feel kind of jerky. It judders, and it feels uncomfortable. So what does that mean for you? It means you're constantly shifting gears just to keep it in its happy place, which, can be a real chore on a daily commute. But get it out of the city, find a winding road, and oh man, that is where the Guerrilla absolutely comes alive. The reports are pretty much universal on this. The handling is fantastic. People describe it as sharp, agile, and supremely accessible. That stiff frame and its lighter weight give you a ton of confidence to just lean it into the corners and have a blast. And a huge part of that accessible feeling comes down to this one number, 780 millimeters. That's the seat height. It's nearly 2 inches lower than its Himalayan sibling. That might not sound like much, but it's a massively important strategic decision. It makes the bike so much easier to manage, welcoming a whole new group of riders who might have been intimidated by a taller bike.
Of course, that fantastic handling comes with a trade-off. You knew it was coming, right? To make it so sharp in the corners, the suspension had to be stiff. And while that's awesome for a smooth, curvy road, it means you're going to feel every single bump and pothole on rougher city streets. So you're definitely sacrificing some all-day comfort for that cornering performance.
All right, let's get to the ultimate test. It's time for the showdown. How does all this come together when you put the Guerrilla 450 head-to-head against its main competition out in the real world?
When you put it up against its most direct rival, the Triumph Speed 400, the Guerrilla's strategy becomes crystal clear. Look at this. It's quicker off the line, hitting 100 kilometers per hour almost a full second faster. That's a big deal. And it's priced more aggressively. The trade-off? Well, it is a bit heavier, and while the Guerrilla has that cool big back presence, the Triumph is just praised all around for its absolutely exceptional build quality.
But the biggest difference isn't in the numbers. It's in the philosophy. The choice becomes so clear when you compare the Guerrilla to something like the KTM 390 Duke. The KTM is just loaded with tech. We're talking traction control, a quick shifter, the whole shebang. Royal Enfield went the complete opposite way.
They focused on just 2 simple ride modes and deliberately left out all the complex electronic aids. They chose a raw, mechanical experience over a tech-heavy one.
So after looking at the smart engineering, the character of the ride, and its place in the market, what's the final takeaway? What's the bottom line on this calculated contender from Royal Enfield?
It all comes down to this idea of a pure motorcycle philosophy. The Guerrilla 450 is the living, breathing embodiment of that. It's a strategy that's all about the raw, unfiltered experience. The feel of the engine, the character of the machine, and that direct connection between you and the road, not a long list of electronic features.
And look, this bike is not for everyone, and that's exactly the point. The Guerrilla 450 is built for a specific rider. It's for the person who prioritizes the feeling of the ride, who wants that real connection to the machine, and who values raw character way more than a spec sheet loaded with the latest technology. In an age where everything is getting more and more complex, Royal Enfield is betting that the answer to that question is a definite yes. The Guerrilla 450 is their bold, unapologetic statement in a market that's constantly chasing more tech. It's a calculated gamble that really leaves every single rider to ask themselves, what do I truly value when I'm out there on the road?